Let's talk about Christmas telly. Guess what? The BBC One's Christmas Day lineup, I can do it by heart because I wrote about it every year for about 12 years and it's still going on, over a decade. Every single Christmas Day goes like this. It's Call the Midwife, Mrs. Brown's Boys, Doctor Who, Strictly Christmas Special. Every single year without fail, and the other channels don't even bother. Let's go over to ace showbiz reporter Caroline Frost. Hi, Caroline.
Hi, Kevin.
Let's just have a little listen to a medley of our festive favourites.
The world is full of healing, Trixie, and people who care and who'll help you to find it.
Stay away!
Tell me what's going on.
I absorbed all the energy of the time vortex, and no one's meant to do that.
The judges' scores. Craig Revel Horwood.
1.
Lendon.
4.
Now, that's Mick, the latest new boyfriend. I'm not even allowed to answer my own phone now. Mick is a secret. Yeah. He must be ugly.
Well, they are, Caroline. You don't have to switch on your telly on Christmas Day there. You've heard it all there. But this lineup, you know, it goes way back. I started doing a TV column in 2006, and I'm pretty much certain all of those programs are on it. Certainly they were up and running by 2010. So over a decade, every single Christmas Day on BBC One, exactly the same programs. Don't you think it's time for a change?
So much. Oh, yes. Now, my friends and I, we always enjoy this time of year when we pick apart the schedules and moan and despair at the state of British telly. I think the problem is threefold. We have developed a theory for you, Kevin. So one is that there is no new drama on the BBC. There is nothing to get your teeth into in the way that we would have embraced a Downton Abbey Christmas special.
Yeah.
Death in Paradise, which is turning up on Boxing Day, I think qualifies for decent drama that to give a festive spin to. However, that's been put on Boxing Day along with A Very British Scandal and Around the World in 80 Days. So that's a whole load of drama to be expecting an audience to sit down. I think perhaps they should have spread that lot out. So, for example, compare that with ITV, much more, I think, a purchase on this feeling, which they've got the Larkins, Channel 5, who've got All Creatures Great and Small. I expect that to do very, very well. That's the kind of drama. I mean, Call the Midwife qualifies, but it's ancient. I mean, it's a decade old. So, of course,
Tell me about it.
Because it's the only kind of show that does qualify to put a bit of tinsel, razzle dazzle, and some Christmas lights around. Nothing else. We can't put Christmas lights around Line of Duty. We can't put it around Show Trial. We can't put it around Roadkill. And this is the kind of drama that the BBC is giving us. So that's number one.
Yeah, you can't have Line of Duty festive special, can you?
With a Santa.
Where there's tinsel all around the police station. Yeah.
Ted as Santa. So the other problem is that you've got the factual telly. So currently the BBC's great trend is to do this celeb and me equals dysfunction. Now, of course, this is very important, really good, valuable telly. Tonight, we've got the Paddy McGuinness documentary on autism and his family. Brilliant telly, totally unconvertible into any kind of Christmas special, as it shouldn't be. It doesn't qualify for that. Sure. Compare that with Paul O'Grady's Dogs, and you see the comparison. Yeah. Finally, Kevin, I give you streaming. Last year, Netflix, they didn't even bother with a Christmas special. They just binged Bridgerton at us and were rewarded in the millions. This year, they've got a brand new film from Adam McKay, Don't Look Up, all-star cast. They'll probably clean up again. So the BBC really do have a triple-pronged challenge on their hands, and I don't know how they begin to dig themselves out of it. They haven't put enough money in the bank during the year to make any decent festive withdrawals. I see as being the main problem with this. It's systemic. The schedule on Christmas Day is a symptom of a bigger illness.
Yes. The other channels, of course, barely bother at all anymore. And in some ways, I don't blame them, because I do date back to the days when ITV tried very hard to compete with BBC every Christmas. And by by almost definition, the people of Britain always gravitate towards the BBC on big occasions, and that includes Christmas Day. So poor old ITV would invest a fortune on an interesting lineup. Nobody would watch it. So in the end, they just gave up. And I understand that. Same goes for the other channels. But the BBC has also basically, as you were just saying, capitulated to the streamers, hasn't it? It's probably thinking, well, people are going to go to Netflix anyway. Why should we bother that much? So to conclude, it's kind of sad, but the golden age of seasonal telly has kind of died a horrible death, hasn't it?
There are some tiny little buds still in the earth. I mean, Christmas Day on ITV has got the Larkins. I think ITV have got a bit more of a take on what people do want to watch.
Okay.
They will watch the Masked Singer festive edition.
That's not
they
bad,
will
yeah.
watch the Larkins. Christmas Eve, they've got a whole load of quizzes, festive specials. I mean, we know that Bradley Walsh is basically Father TV Christmas now, and they've got him for the chase. They've got him in the Larkins. They've got Gino going Italian family, probably with a bit of tinsel on the spaghetti. I think they've kind of worked out how to just to not blow the budget while giving us the tinsel that we feel inclined to tune into. I think the BBC, it's much more systemic, much bigger challenge facing them.
So, I mean, to go back to the basics, I mean, I didn't realise that ITV had raised their game. It sounds like they really have. I'm glad to hear it.
I think so.
Because competition is, yeah.
All-Star musicals. John Jazz Hands Barrowman is back in action doing the All-Star.
Is he?
He is on Boxing Day. He's been,
there's a turn up.
He's been relegated or promoted, but he's on Boxing Day. We've got Billy Connolly doing a new documentary on ITV. Plus, of course, they've stolen a little bit of a march. All their soaps and quite a few other dramas, they've said that anybody at the day of scheduling, they're all going to be on the hub. So they've kind of done that digital first thing for Christmas Day. So you've got things like the Larkins, like the soaps. You can, I mean, that will be one, because obviously everyone's schedules are so all over the place, to put the kiddie down in front of, and that's something taken care of. Very interesting decision. But I do think ITV is showing a little bit more promise. It's all relative. I mean, as you say, it's a splintered, fragmented audience. All the kids are going to be on their phones anyway. But what the audience there is, I think, maybe drawn more to ITV, unless they want to sit through another festive Doctor Who. Oh, Snoresville.
Or watching a baby being born on Call the Midwife.
Okay.
So it does sound as if ITV may be the place to go, but people probably still will go to the BBC. I mean, where are we heading with all this? Why has the BBC given up the ghost?
I think it's, as I say, this is a symptom of a bigger challenge all year round, because how can you can't put your hand into the big Christmas bucket and pluck out a festive special of a programme that you haven't invested in earlier in the year. There's no audience familiarity. There's nothing to get behind. I mean, you can see why they think, well, you know what, Michael McIntyre, he's always done all right on Christmas. And no, I mean, goodness me, things are rotten. When Mrs. Brown's Boys, they cannot afford, they were snobby. They did well one year. They dropped it for a couple of years. They can't afford to drop Mrs. Brown's Boys. They'll lose all their figures if Mrs. Brown's Boys goes. I mean, it's effectively the pantomime, isn't it? And that's on at 10:20. I think they'll all breathe a sigh of relief if they get to 10:20 and people are still tuning in. Why has the BBC done this? Because it has a very progressive agenda in its weekday scheduling. I mean, I used to work for the BBC. We've talked about it. We love the BBC. We don't want it to fail. We want it to improve. We want to look at the schedule.
I agree.
That's something I watch. I know you're a big fan of Holby City. No sign of a festive Holby City, nor should there be. But where is the equivalent of a Vera? Where is the All Creatures Great and Small on the BBC, where these are commissioning decisions much higher upstream this is the chickens coming home, the turkeys coming home to roost for bad commissioning decisions earlier on. Yeah,
they turned down All Creatures, didn't they? Went to Channel 5, a very bad decision. I assume, going back to the actual Christmas Day schedules, that we'll get the hour-long soap spectaculars when There'll be various declarations of cancer, people dying, people throwing turkeys at each other, splitting up. The great kind of roll call of utter festive misery we expect from our soap operas, Corrie and EastEnders and Emmerdale. That'll happen, won't it? As usual.
It's bound to happen. I think the word has been explosive. I think that normally gets thrown around in the show.
We can take it as read that Emmerdale will catch fire. I mean, the world's most combustible village, so that'll catch fire. In Albert Square in EastEnders, there'll be outright violence. At least one character will die. Coronation Street, it's usually more medical. There'll be a declaration, I'm dying of cancer. It's always a very happy time in Soapland at Christmas Day, isn't it?
Oh my goodness. I mean, when you think though of what a massive part of the TV schedule EastEnders used to be. I mean, some people used to time their Christmas dinner around the double bill of EastEnders, and quite rightly, thoroughly entertaining. Things have changed, thank goodness for art and animation.
They really have, Caroline. I'll tell you, I remember when I was still doing my column, it's a while back now, when it was revealed that Max and Stacey were having an affair. It was sensational. It was an amazing episode. It was really great to watch. Why can't the soaps do that anymore?
Well, Sally Wainwright, who used to write for Corrie before she went on to such amazing drama heights with Happy Valley and etc., other tales, she told me it's because they packed too many episodes into a week, and so you've got no investment in character and you've got no let up. They're so intent on picking those dramatic headlines that there's no light relief in between. There's no Reg Holdsworth. There's no Mavis and Derek in the cabin. Those moments to give us a little bit of light and shade. There doesn't seem to be the elasticity for that anymore. And so the great paradox is, of course, is that you're chasing a sort of retreating tide of audience, and the storylines come around too quickly and you can't invest in the outcome. So say if it were to be Max and Stacey these days, you wouldn't have had the investment leading up to it. It wouldn't be shaking you to the timbers, Kevin, in quite the way it did.
Yeah, it used to be, for a TV columnist, it used to be the biggest day of the year. You had to be right across it because it was the day where the majority of the population tuned into the telly. And the fact of the matter is now, even including Netflix, I think a lot of people don't even switch it on anymore. Are you going to switch the telly on Christmas Day?
Probably, just because I always have done, and I am Mike TV out of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. But I mean, when I think even less than a decade ago, more recently, do you remember when Sherlock series 3?
Oh, yeah,
I went on the Today program because there was a spoiler by Russia. It was seen as an important
major news. Major
news. Nobody would really care if there was some Sherlock. I mean, we just don't have the. Is it that we don't have the programs, or we don't have the attention span? Something has shifted in our access.
It really has. But there's still work for showbiz journalists out there.
Always.
Only the good ones, unfortunately, for you, Caroline. But seriously, how fantastic to talk to you again. Always a pleasure. Caroline Frost there, showbiz journalist, ace showbiz reporter, entertainment correspondent on the Christmas TV schedules, and very terrible they are too.